Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer, and I am here live at Levi Stadium where tonight the San Francisco 49ers had a dominating 30-12 victory over the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. Let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at this game, how it all broke down for the 49ers. I'll give you my instant reaction, my takeaways from tonight's performance. You look at this game for the San Francisco 49ers, like I said, it was a dominating effort across the board. The 49ers moving to 3-0 on the season. In tonight's game, the 49ers offense, they held the ball for almost 40 minutes. Actually, it was 39 minutes and 10 seconds. Out of a 60-minute game, they held the ball for nearly two-thirds of the time. As you can expect, as a result, they racked up almost two-thirds as many yards as the New York Giants. They almost tripled them up. The 49ers racking up 441 yards of total offense tonight to just 150 for New York, while also picking up 26 first downs compared to just 10 for the Giants. In addition, the 49ers scored at least 30 points for the sixth regular season game in a row, the longest streak in franchise history. So let's get to it. Let's take a look at the 5 burning questions that I asked before the game, how those played out, and then we can get to your questions, go through your comments. I'll give you some other feedback on this game as well. But number one, coming into this game, we knew that the Giants were beat up a little bit along that offensive line. That was no doubt, especially with both the Giants having their left tackle and their left guard both missing from this game. And they come out tonight, and San Francisco, they've had a problem with handling mobile quarterbacks. Well, they figured that out tonight. Apart from the first possession for New York, the 49ers defense did a really nice job of not letting Jones get free or find receivers down the field once he felt pressure. That opening drive was a little bit rough. A couple of times pressure got around him. Jones would escape the pocket and find a receiver to help move the ball down the field. But after that, they did a really nice job. They got tighter on the back end. They did a better job of keeping him behind the line of scrimmage, not allowing him to escape. And, you go back, you look at this game. Jones came into this game averaging over 50 yards rushing per game. He had 11 carries, an average of 11 carries as well. 22 carries in those first 2 games, 102 yards of rushing for Jones. Tonight, just 5 yards rushing. He only ran it twice. And again, it was that sticky coverage on the back end, along with that defensive front, staying tight in their rushing lanes and not allowing him to make to get after him at all. Jones finishing tonight with just 129 yards on 18 of 27 passing to go along with that 5 rushing yards. It's easy to see why the 49ers dominated this game or how they did. Again, it was just pressure from the defensive front. Not a lot of sacks. They only had 2 sacks, one from Nick Bosa, one from Javon Hargrave. Didn't have very many quarterback hits either. Those numbers were a little bit limited. You go back and you look at the total hits on the quarterback in this game for the 49ers. I think there was just 5. I think that the quarterback hits, 6. You had one for Drake Greenlaw early on. Nick Bosa, obviously, with the sack. Javon Hargrave with the sack. So those count as quarterback hits also. But in addition to those, they also got another hit on the quarterback. You also had one for Eric Armstead as well. So Greenlaw, Armstead, Hargrave, and Bosa all getting to the quarterback tonight, laying hits on Daniel Jones. But in addition to that, if you watch the game, there was definitely, we'll get those numbers for you probably tomorrow once PFF gets the numbers all loaded up in terms of the pressure numbers. But it was clear just watching the game that there was a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones. He was forced to move around a lot. It's also understandable why his time to throw is so long. It's because he doesn't have receivers that get open for him right away. Plus, the pressure forces him to hold on to it as well. So, but a really good 49ers defensive effort up front, really putting pressure on Jones, making him have to hold on to the ball and move around. So that was a really good sign as well. Real quick, just want to shout out the Mua family. Says, how's it going, Jack? Hey, it's going good. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Double B Studios saying that Bosa should have had 5 sacks. You're right. I mean, they were all over him. They definitely put a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones tonight, forced him to move quite a bit. And it was clear which team was the better team tonight, the 49ers. Again, I said this before the game. I'll say it again. The 49ers are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFC. And tonight's game doesn't necessarily show that, but you can just see the level that the 49ers are at compared to most of these other teams. It's going to be the 49ers, the Eagles, the Cowboys. That's it. It's so reminiscent of 1994. It's scary. But I really do feel like the 49ers, this is a team that's going to go 15-2, 16-1 during this regular season if they just don't screw it up. As part of this this game tonight, you look at the 49ers, and one of the things through the first three games, and not only are they 3-0, but they've only turned the ball over once. The only turnover for the 49ers so far this season was the sack fumble that Brock Purdy had out in Pittsburgh in week one. Other than that, they've been really good about holding on to the football. And when the 49ers hold on to the ball, they don't turn it over. They don't lose games. They're very good at holding on to the winning games when they don't lose the turnover battle. Andrew H. wants to know how the crowd seemed quiet on TV. How was it in person? It's hard to tell. I'm up in the press box, and so being up there, you don't get a real good sense of it necessarily because it's just there's a lot of glass in between us and the crowd. Even when the crowd's going crazy, sometimes you can hear it, but it's not all that loud. But it was a decent crowd. It was a Thursday night crowd. I'll say it was really hard getting into the stadium tonight. It was a 5:15 game. I usually get here about 3 hours ahead of time, a little bit before that. I would have been, except for it took me about an hour to go from the 101 freeway to the stadium. And if you know this area, that's just about a mile. It's just so rough to get into the stadium on these Thursday night, Monday night games. And I left thinking I was going to have plenty of time. I got in here just in time to do that pregame show for y'all earlier today. So, I think that plays a little bit into it. The traffic to get in. Also, the 49ers are winning a lot. So there were a lot of open seats in the stands, especially in the across the way in that top fourth level. A lot of open seats up in that area, but the crowd was into it. Nothing like what it's going to be in 2 weeks when the Dallas Cowboys come here. When the Dallas Cowboys are here 2 weeks from Sunday, this place will be rocking. This place will be ready to go, especially if the 49ers are 4-0 at that point. So, because that's a big one. The Cowboy game, the Eagles games, those are going to be the games that I think at the end of the day tell you where the 49ers are in terms of the NFC, and they're going to set the playoffs. Think about it this way. The 49ers, Cowboys, and Eagles, there's a really high likelihood that whichever one of those teams does not, whichever one team of those teams wins home field advantage, really, it's likely that they are going to be playing against whichever of those teams is in the wild card game, because one of those teams is going to be a wild card team because the number 5 and 4 seed probably going to win that, and then they're going to be the lowest ranked seed, likely going to play the number 1 seed. So it's just kind of crazy the way this whole thing works out. Who knows what's going to happen, really? The Cowboys dealt a tough blow today with their quarterback out there going down. Their best cornerback, a guy that had only allowed a quarterback rating of 1.0. Yeah, you heard me right, 1.0 through the first 2 weeks. So we'll see how that affects the Cowboys defense moving forward. Really quick, before I get on to some of the other stuff, I know I see you guys talking about Brock Purdy. That's just screw it. I'm not going to go through my burning questions. You guys have better questions than I have. Be a double B studio, bro. Bell is going to be a dog. Hey, I did a lot of joking around tonight on social media, but absolutely, I agree with this. Ronnie Bell, I think, is a guy who can be a very good player for the 49ers. Does a lot of things well. I don't think it's wild to realize that the 49ers were at their best tonight offensively when Ronnie Bell was on the field, when they got into the 3 wide receiver sets, or they had 2 receivers with Bell being one of them on the field. It was a weird game tonight. You look at the fact that there was no Brandon Ayuk, and that was one of my questions for today anyway, was Brandon Ayuk going to play? We got that answer before the game, and that was no. The whole way that this game played out for the 49ers was strange, especially early on. Kyle Shanahan went into this game, I think, thinking that he was going to get away from using Brandon Ayuk. He was going to his comeback to that was using a lot of 2 tight end sets, and they had a lot of Ross Dwelly, a lot of Charlie Warner on the field, a lot of 22 personnel, and they have that flexibility that even when they're in 22, which means 2 running backs, two tight ends, they still have Christian McCaffrey who can light up wide, and he's like a wide receiver. They still have Kyle Juszczyk who can line up wide. He has that ability to be he's kind of a little bit more of a tight end than a receiver, but can still run routes out there. And early on, when they were doing a lot of those 2 tight end sets, you saw it in terms of some struggling from Brock Purdy. Purdy wasn't his normal self in the first half. He was a little off early on with a couple of his throws. A couple of times throwing into coverage. He got helped out by George Kittle on a deep corner route that Kittle knocked away from the defensive back, threw into coverage to to Deebo Samuel on one. Just it was not a good start to the game for Brock Purdy. If you go through and you look at his numbers for tonight, he definitely in the first half it was a different story between the first half and the second half. If you go and you look through it for Purdy in the first half tonight, he was just 14 of 23, 157 yards, one touchdown, and no interceptions. That touchdown going to Ronnie Bell, who Double B Studio says here is going to be a dog. It went to Bell, and that was really of the, I'm talking about the struggles of Brock Purdy, but that touchdown that Brock Purdy threw to Ronnie Bell. First off, let me stick with Ronnie Bell because that was a really good job by Bell to make sure that he caught the ball, but then stuck both those feet in the ground right away in bounds to make sure that was a touchdown. So that's a big positive on Ronnie Bell's part on that play. But then you get to the part of that play that had to do with the quarterback Brock Purdy. That was a tough one because there was pressure coming on him right off the snap. You could see the blitz was coming, and he did a really nice job of getting that ball out of his hand quick. It was well before Bell was ready to catch it. You could see from where I was sitting up top, you could see that ball come out quickly. Bell barely getting his head turned around, and that ball was right on him. And again, sticking both feet in the ground. That was really nice. And you look at that first half, 14 of 23. They were struggling a little bit, getting things going. The second half was a little bit more open with the offense, a little more 11 personnel. So one back, one tight end, 3 wide receivers on the field a little bit more often. And one of the things that we saw when they started doing that, or I noticed, was Juwan Jennings a lot of time would line up tight to the formation. So he's kind of like a quasi tight end. He's a bigger guy, and that's not something new. We've seen the 49ers do that in the past with him. But again, 14 of 23 for Purdy in the first half. The second half was a different story. In the second half tonight, Brock Purdy, 11 of 14, 153 yards, and another touchdown. That touchdown, a deep shot down the right sideline to Deebo Samuel. So, last week you heard all about the misses from Brock Purdy down the field. Tonight, he hit one. He hit a couple of them. There were some really nice explosive plays in the passing game. Purdy wasn't necessarily working it down the field as much. But you look at it again, and it was just a really overall it was a nice performance. DP coming in with a nice good one here. I noted this as well. What's with Brock fumbling under center 2 weeks in a row? It's a hike premature. Both times he was looking around. I think last week it was snapped a little early when I watched it on film. Tonight it looked like everybody was moving, but I'll go back and double check that. I don't know if that was a bad deal right there because the 49ers at that time were up 17-6. They go 3 and out on their first possession. They punt the ball away. And then on the punt, you have Jean-Charles, the Shamar, whatever his name is, the DB that they just brought up from their practice squad earlier today. He interferes with the punt with a fair catch. So that's a 15-yard penalty. Then you get a 22-yard. That sets him up on the 37 to start off with, right? And then you have a 22-yard pass interference penalty on Diamondo Lenore. That puts the ball down at the 8. Boom. In goes Matt Breida from 8 yards out. Now it's a 17-12 game. They end up going for 2 instead of kicking a field goal, whatever. But now all of a sudden it's a 1-point game. It's really tight. Well, the 49ers respond to that. They come out, they go down the field, they get a field goal to go back up 20-12. And then we know what happens from there. They score a couple more times. Glass City says that he thinks it's on Brendel that he snapped it early. I don't know. We'll see as I look at the film. Glass City is saying Deebo is a savage monster, breaking tackles left and right. Absolutely. And we saw this last week from Deebo Samuel on Sunday. Just on Sunday, remember down in Los Angeles, there was a couple times where Deebo Samuel got the ball. He's along the sidelines. Instead of going out of bounds, he fights his way back up inside for more yardage. Tonight, the series of this game for me when it comes to Deebo Samuel was late. It was 23-12. The 49ers get the ball. The opening play is a little throw from Brock Purdy to Deebo Samuel. It's a quick slant to the left side. I think it's an RPO. Anyway, Samuel catches it, runs through guys, gets down the field, gets tackled, lands on the ball. I think he got the wind knocked out of him. They actually take him into the blue tent to check him out. He comes back. He's standing on the sideline a couple plays later. They throw him back into the game. And then on 2nd and 7 from the 27, Purdy with the deep ball down the right sideline for the touchdown. and that's the end of it. 49ers up 30-12. And again, 30 points. That's the deal, right? 6 games in a row for this offense. It's wild. And on top of that, one other thing, and I don't know if anybody's talked about this on here, but you've got to talk about Jake Moody, the kicker. When the 49ers drafted a kicker number 3 in the 3rd round, everybody was not happy with that pick. There were so many people upset with that pick. It was funny. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, he has now hit 9 kicks in a row to open up his career. He's only the 3rd kicker in the history of the NFL to open up his career with 9 straight field goals in his first 3 games. Jake Moody, 3 field goals week 1, 3 field goals on Sunday, 3 field goals again here tonight in the 49ers' 30-12 win. Not only is he good on those, but those field goals, but he's also getting the ball into the end zone, kicking it really high to help that kick coverage team as well. The 49ers are on a roll right now, and it's throughout the team. Even the kicker, Jake Moody, got to give him some love. Yeah, there was the drop on the touchdown, that's for sure. At the end of the game, at the end of the night tonight, you look at this game, and there was a lot of hand wringing over the performance of Brock Purdy, and I agree with some of the misses, and I agree with some of that was going on, and he struggled to get into rhythm. Kyle Shanahan said, "Okay, well, let me help you out a little bit." Started calling some screens and some shorter passes to help him get into the flow of the game, and even with that, he's still getting the ball down the field at times. 25 of 37, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of a 111.3. Brock Purdy has now thrown at least 2 touchdowns. He's made 8 starts in the regular season. He's 8-0. In those 8 starts, he has thrown at least 2 touchdowns 7 times out of 8. I look at social media throughout the game to see what people are saying. And if you watch social media, you would think that Brock Purdy and the 49ers were losing today. At some point, I promise you, those of you that don't like Brock Purdy, or I should say those of you that continue to point out the flaws in Brock Purdy's game, I promise you at some point you're going to be able to talk about him losing a game. It's going to happen. At some point, he's going to lose. At some point, right? He's going to lose. But until then, enjoy what you're seeing, because a lot of it again with Brock Purdy, I've said this a number of times and I'll say it again. I think when you look at Brock Purdy and you look at his play, so much of the worry is because of the fact that he's not a big, fast, strong guy. He's a 7th round pick that isn't supposed to be doing what he's supposed to be doing or what he's doing. And then on top of that, when you watch Brock Purdy play, there is so much that he does at a very high level that goes missed by the vast majority of people who are watching the game. For example, the touchdown throw to Ronnie Bell tonight. That thing, there are very few quarterbacks in the NFL who are going to make that throw as accurately and as on time and do everything the way that he did. Just like on Sunday, the throw to Juwan Jennings over the middle when he's got a free rusher coming right into his face and he slides to his left and he throws the ball while Jennings is still running the vertical part. Jennings runs another 5 yards vertically before he starts to make his cut. Yeah, the ball was a little bit behind him, but it was a tremendous play if you really pay attention to what's happening on that one. And as Cobra Status 510 says, when it comes to Brock Purdy, he made some money throws. He did. He made some money throws tonight. He got lucky a few times. He got a lot of help from Christian McCaffrey on some screens. The 49ers have been pretty heavy on the screens the last couple of games. As the pressure's been ramped up a little bit on them, you've seen them get into some more of the screen game, and you have guys on this team that can really help him out in that way. And Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, they got a little bit of help tonight with some pass defensive stuff in terms of holding and those types of things from the Giants. But all in all, it was a solid effort. Not perfect, but more than enough. And at the end of the day, the 49ers won by 18 points. They scored 30. They scored 30 points tonight against the Giants team. There's been I saw on social media somebody talk about how the Cowboys scored 40. The Cowboys won by 40 against these guys. Well, if you remember in that game on that opening night, the Cowboys scored 14 points. One of them, a special teams kick return for a touchdown on a blocked field goal. The 49ers scored 30 points. 14 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 poin The other, an interception, pick six for a touchdown. The Cowboys scored 26 points on offense against this Giants team. The 49ers went out and scored 30 tonight, put up over 440 yards of total offense, moved the ball up and down the field, a really good one. George Kittle having a good night too. Andrew says the Kittle pass was nuts too, the one on the sideline. I'm not sure exactly which one you're talking about, but I know there was a couple of nice out throws to the Kittle that went for some extra yardage because of Kittle's ability to run after the catch. You know, you look at tonight's game, no Brandon Ayuk. So without Brandon Ayuk, what do? Well, you turn to Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, 6 catches, 129 yards. He averaged 21.5 yards per reception tonight to Deebo. Just a man among just a stud out there. 40 yards was the long. That was a catch and about 18 yards, and he ran it for about another 22. He was targeted 12 times, 6 catches. George Kittle, 7 catches for 90 yards. He's been a monster on Thursday Night Football, but no touchdowns for him tonight. He had a long of 29. You know, and then McCaffrey, 5 catches, 34 yards. You could see tonight, you know, I like Elijah Mitchell is a really nice number 2 back. You gotta give Elijah Mitchell that. He is a really nice number 2 back. I think in watching the game tonight, one of the things that I said while I was up in the booth is you could see the difference between Christian McCaffrey on the field and Elijah Mitchell. There's a big difference, and you can understand why Kyle Shanahan wouldn't be asking for Christian McCaffrey to be taken off the field. The guy just makes too many plays for him, and it's all over the place. Shane coming in with some stats for me. Thank you, Shane. He says 9 of 16 on third downs, 26 first downs. Move those chains. Yeah, it was a good game for the 49ers tonight. I'm not gonna try to, you know, it was a good game. It wasn't a great game. It was a game where you went out and you did what you needed to do. There's some things that you can clean up from this game, 100%. You need to be better in certain situations. But again, they went out, they took care of business, they did what they needed to do. They're 3-0. Now you get a nice little break, it's a little bit of a mini bye, and then you go into Arizona, a team that you should be able to do what you did here tonight again. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys coming into week 5 for Sunday Night Football. So the schedule's, you know, ramping up a little bit here after this one against the Cardinals, a tough game against the Cowboys. And you kind of look around, I think the game in Cleveland's going to be one from a tough one for the offense. But that defense should be able to dominate the Browns. And I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but like I said, right now, when you kind of look at the landscape of the NFL, the 49ers are a damn good team. And I can see them getting 15, 16 wins this season. I could see them being a 16-1 team or a 15-2 team and being the home field advantage this season. Whoever gets home field is going to have a big break when it comes to the playoffs. A couple other things that I wanted to shout out tonight. You know, look through the players. Christian McCaffrey, you know, we talked a little bit about him, but McCaffrey tonight didn't get to 100 yards. He had an opportunity to become the first 49er to ever run for 300 yards in the first 3 games of the season, the first in the NFL since 2019. Didn't get there tonight, but it wasn't really on him. That had more to do with Kyle Shanahan limiting him to just 18 reps. You look at that game, the first half tonight, McCaffrey, 61 yards on just 10 carries, was running through the Giants. He just got 8. He would only get 8 attempts after halftime, finished with 85 yards on 18 total carries. You know, you go back and you look at this one. He has now, you add up his numbers through the first 3 weeks, McCaffrey has 353 yards rushing. That is the most by any 49ers running back in franchise history throughout the course of their first 3 games in a season. Garrison Hurst came into it with the lead. McCaffrey passing him up tonight in grand style, scoring from 4 yards out to give the 49ers a 17-3 lead. On that run, he went on that play. He had 57 yards going in. He had to get to 58 to break the record. He didn't just get to 58. He got all the way to 61 and got the touchdown to break the record. So a nice job there for Christian McCaffrey. Also need to shout out Isaiah Oliver, the defensive, the nickelback, you know, coming into this game. One of the things that I was concerned with that I mentioned in the pregame was Darren Waller. You know, Darren Waller had 72 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown against these 49ers last year out in Vegas. And one of the things I said during this preseason was, actually during the run up to the preseason, was Isaiah Oliver would be a upgrade over Jimmy Ward in coverage in the slot, and that showed tonight. Isaiah Oliver tonight against uh, Darren Waller, 3 catches for 20 yards. That is all the tight end was able to pick up tonight. He was targeted 6 times, just 3 catches for 20 yards. 49ers pass rush playing a big part of that as well, like I mentioned already. Bosa and Hargrave each getting a sack. The defensive line getting after him, repeatedly. But going back to Oliver, I think the big play tonight, my favorite one for him, it was the third quarter. He lines up in tight to the line of scrimmage on Waller. They're kind of in a little bit of stack formation, so that you got to worry about the release point there. But he gets his hands on Waller at the line of scrimmage, redirects him, turns, runs up the right sideline with him, and is there to defend the pass. It was a really nice play. He's going to get beat at times. All these guys do. But especially against some of these bigger receivers, like in this case, a tight end Waller, who plays like a wide receiver, he's gonna stand out in those matchups. And even take a step back just a few days. His interception in the third quarter against the Rams helped turn that game around as well. So a really solid performance there. Javon Kinlaw didn't get a sack tonight, but I watched him a couple of times. He's getting up the field, making plays, putting pressure on the quarterback, looking good. We're seeing the best version of Javon Kinlaw now, right? And it makes sense. He's healthy. And when you're healthy, good things happen for you. Javon Kinlaw right now having a solid start to the year, as are this entire 49ers team. Again, 441 yards of offense for the 49ers to only 150 for the Giants. The 49ers tonight with 26 first downs to just 10 for the Giants. 30 points for the 6th consecutive regular season game, the longest streak in franchise history. If you're a 49er fan and you're walking away from this game worried about how things are with your team, I just would like to tell you this. If you weren't around during the 1981 to 1990 run, the golden years for 49ers football, where they were dominant with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and all these guys, Dwight Clark, Freddie Solomon, if you weren't around during that run, during the team of the 80s run in the 80s, 80 to 90, you're watching as close to that now. What you're seeing from the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan right now is as close to those glory years 49ers teams. Those teams of that team of the 80s, 4-time Super Bowl champs. Yes, I understand they haven't won a Super Bowl yet. They didn't get their quarterback right. I think that's the biggest reason. Jimmy Garoppolo was a really good quarterback for the 49ers. Randy, I see your post. When it comes to, Kyle Shanahan just didn't have the quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo won a lot of games in the regular season, did a lot of good things, struggled in the postseason, didn't play well. Last year, what we saw from Brock Purdy in the playoffs, that was better than anything we ever saw from Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. I'm telling you right now, as long as they keep Brock Purdy healthy, this is a team that's going to win a shit ton of games, because Brock Purdy is the best quarterback the San Francisco 49ers have had in a very, very long time. At least since, Colin Kaepernick in that 2013, end of 2012, 2013, those 2 seasons. He was very good those 2 years. But Brock Purdy is matching that right now, and he may even be playing better than that because of what they're doing. So, again, if you're a 49ers fan and you're excited about your team, you should be. If you're worried about your team, that's okay. They're going to earn your trust, I think, because as this season goes along, again, 3 weeks in, they have outscored their opponents 90 to what was it coming into tonight? It was 90 to 60 to 30. So it's now 90 to 42. They've more than doubled up their opponents over these first 3 weeks. They're going to have a big game here against the Cardinals a couple of weeks from today, or a couple of weeks from a week from Sunday, which likely is going to be a similar outcome to today if everything plays out the way that it is. So this is a really good team, like I said. Hey, and I'm going to wrap the show up. Again, 49ers big winners tonight, 30-12 over the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. 441 yards of total offense for the 49ers, 150 yards of total offense for the Giants. Brock Purdy, 111.3 passer rating, 25 of 37, 310 yards, averaged 8.4 yards per attempt tonight, 2 touchdowns. That makes 7 out of 8 games in his career in which he started. He has thrown at least 2 touchdown passes. Christian McCaffrey, just under 100 yards, 18 carries, 85 yards. He gets a touchdown. Deebo Samuel, 129 yards on 6 catches. He got a touchdown. Ronnie Bell, the rookie, making his first catch of his career. Not only did he make his first catch, it was a touchdown. On the defensive side, pressure all night long. Diameter Lenore having some good plays, but you get to the quarterback hits. Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa. Hits on the quarterback tonight. Really solid performance for the 49ers. And they move to 3-0. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch us. Like I always tell you, take it for what it's worth. I appreciate you watching. If you guys can do me a favor, please hit that like button. After you do that, turn on your notifications and subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications. That like button helps out quite a bit. And again, I really appreciate all of you for making the time to watch the channel. If you guys can do me a favor, let's be interactive. Let's have a lot of questions. I like your questions. I like that stuff. Super chats are a great way to make sure that your questions get seen. Also, becoming a member of the channel is another great way to make sure your questions get answered. I would like to be able to do shows where I come on and I'm talking, but most of it is just me answering your questions. I'd much rather answer your questions than come up with it on my own. Every once in a while, I like to do those shows, but more than that, I really like to interact with the fans and help you feel like you are, as the channel says, inside the 49ers. So have a great night. 49ers 30, Giants 12. Again, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Randy, thank you for watching. Everybody else, thank you. I'll be back tomorrow with a show tomorrow morning with Larry Krueger and more 49ers coverage throughout the weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great night. I got to head home.